Hi, this is my 1990 Honda Civic RT four-wheel drive real-time wagon. Doing a swap. It originally was an automatic. I am now converting it over to standard. The engine was tired and the transmission was shot, so I ended up buying a parts wagon that had the engine and transmission. It happened to be a standard, so I'm in the process of converting it over. A few things you should know: you got to change all the mounts, including the rear transmission mount, which is right there. To change that, you have to drop the subframe. You have to loosen off the 4 bolts, lower it down to get at the back bolt. So it's kind of difficult to change, but it has to be changed, as well as the other mount that goes there and the front engine mount. As well, you have to change the shifter, obviously. Originally there's a hole in the floor now from where the old one sat. With the new shifter though, it'll just cover up that hole, no problem. You have to change the cables on the wagons. They're cable driven, not linkage, like metal linkage, metal rods. It's actual cables. Of course, the pedals have to be changed. I don't know if you can see them down there or not. Let's see if we get the light. Pedals have been changed over. Quite a task. You have to actually loosen off all the bolts for the steering column, let the steering column down and move it off to the side. It might be easier to see on the other car, the parts car. Here's the engine and transmission. Have to go back together once you get the clutch in. And also what helps too, if you disconnect the what do you call it here, the fuse box. You can either take it out or just bring it down. It helps. Once you loosen off all the bolts here, you can drop the steering column out of the way, push it off to the side. You also have to remove the vents. There's this one here, it goes right up above there. And the other one is right back here. This little vent here, if you can see, it has to be removed to get one of the bolts. I can show you where the bolts are. Where they all go. Where's the other pedal? This is the old pedal system. There's one bolt that goes up right in there. That's very hard to see. Unless you take that vent that I showed you out, you can't get that bolt out. And then it's basically loosen off the bolts and you're good to go. Unfortunately, on the automatic, it does not include the bolt holes to remount the shifter. This is the shifter right here that's going to be going into the other car. I'm going to have to drill all those holes out in the other car to be able to mount that. So that's about the only modification you have to make there to mount that in. Other than that, on the subframe, it has the extra hole. As you can see right here, that's originally where the other mount was mounted. It's moved over a bit. This one is opposite. It's on the other side. They do give you the other hole to mount it, so you don't have to make any modifications. You just have to mount it in there. It goes in pretty easy once you got the subframe down. You don't have to actually remove the subframe right out, but and you don't have to disconnect the steering linkage. There's enough room to actually just make it in to get that back bolt out, but it is easier if you either disconnect the steering column from the car, or you can just disconnect the linkage and drop it down. But then you got to make sure, if you disconnect the linkage, that you mark it so the steering wheel sits straight when you're driving straight. Otherwise, if you don't mark it, you could put it back in the wrong spot and your steering wheel will not be straight. And that's about it so far. So my next step is to put the clutch in, put the transmission and engine together, drop them in, and bolt it all up, and then finish off with the shifter assembly inside the car after I drill all the holes out and everything. So my next video will show what the car looks like back together, hopefully starting it and driving it. So that's it for my conversion from automatic to standard on my 1990 Honda Civic RT four-wheel drive.